Everybody talk about the heroes like they're the reason people dominate in Age of Empire Mobile. King Arthur, Lubu, the newest legendary, the newest ring, the newest march. And don't get me wrong, those things absolutely matter. But after watching more battles over the last few weeks, I started noticing something that honestly made me rethink the way I have been looking the meta. The strongest hero wasn't always winning. In fact, sometimes the player with the weakest heroes was getting the better traits. At first, I thought maybe I was just looking at unusual reports. Maybe somebody forgot some buffs. Maybe somebody misplayed. Maybe somebody get catched. But then I keep seeing it again and again. And after enough battles, I realized something. I think the meta doesn't actually reward strongest heroes. It rewards something completely different. And once I start looking for that instead of staring at hero portraits, a lot of fights suddenly make a lot more sense. Because here's the thing. Whether somebody absolutely destroy a battlefield, what does everyone ask? What hero are they using? Nobody asks how long has that account been building towards this march? What rings are they actually running? What formation? What kind of gems? How much health do they have? What civilization bonus they're active? Were they actually taking good traits, or did the report just look impressive? I used to be exactly the same. I see crazy report, I do immediately zoom in on the heroes. And I do think, well, that's obviously why they won, but now I'm not sure anymore. Because heroes are the easiest thing to notice. That doesn't mean they're the biggest reason somebody win. And I'm going to share with you, obviously, what I'm talking about here. Right now, there is heroes. You see heroes. This is the biggest picture. When you go and you try to, okay, where is the mail? I'm going to just filter. Last time I get PvP, so I can get some report, even though that is looking completely bad in my side. There is some whales attacking me, but I'm going to go and check out this one. You click on the comparison, and what do you see? You see heroes. This is like my Lubu, Attila against Yodid, Scipio, and Lagerta. So the first thing and the biggest thing you're seeing is actually the heroes. The rest of the things are small icons. I mean, look at the ring. This is very small icon. Look at the gear. Look at the gems, brother. I cannot even see the gems. So going further, when we go over the stats or when we go over the reports, even when we go over the stats, you're going to see the hero images. We're going over the buffs, you're seeing the hero images. You don't see anything else, it's only hero images, and you start associating the win and loss only with the heroes. When in reality, they're just the lowest, they're not everything. They're not the whole picture right there. You just see couple heroes. The more I watch those reports, the more I realize something funny. Players don't actually copy strategy, they copy outcome. That's a huge difference. If somebody with maxed King Arthur wipes your 4 marches, people don't ask why he survived. They ask how quickly they can unlock King Arthur. If somebody's Wubu deletes everything in front of him, everybody suddenly think Wubu is the answer. But what if Wubu wasn't actually the reason? What if the real advantage can come from somewhere that never appear in the thumbnail? What if the real advantage came from something that never appear in the thumbnail? That's where I think a lot of players incidentally fall behind, because they invest in what they can see instead of what actually creates the result. That actually reminds me of something I've been changing myself. The more I've been stopped chasing every new thing that appear in the game, the more I try to be efficient with every investment instead. Whether that's medals, rings, gems, or even topping up, I do rather get the most value possible than simply spend more. That's why I've been partnered with Top of Life for Apex coins and Imperial coins. The delivery is instant, the prices are among the lowest I ever seen, and if you are planning to buy some Apex coins or Imperial coins anyway, you can also use my code BURGAS for 12% off. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. Anyway, that still doesn't answer the biggest question. If stronger heroes aren't what the meta rewards, what does it reward? At first, I thought maybe it was simply account power. That seems logical. A stronger account should win more fights. Except that didn't explain some of the traits I've been watching earlier. I've been seeing players with significantly higher power lose traits they probably shouldn't have lost. I also seen players that weren't even the biggest spender in their alliance consistently outperform people with much stronger accounts. That's weird, because power is supposed to represent strength. But strength and performance aren't always the same thing. Then I start paying attention to something I honestly ignored for a very long time. Health, not damage, not hero stars, not power, just health. It sounds incredibly boring compared to unlocking the new legendary. Nobody gets excited about another percent of unit health, but the more I watch it open field fights, the more I realize those boring upgrades keep showing up in winning trades. And this is one of the buffs I'm going to show. I mean, this is the report, and as you can see, my health only on my cavalry I have like 60%, but my marksman, swordsman, and pikeman is like having 30%. The enemy is having 105%. Now, I really don't want to compare the might attack because, here is like 2 to 1, but the health is like 3 to 1. And this is one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, that this bad boy was having so good traits against my legions. And I have no issue showing up if I, not winning reports. Now, one march survived with just enough troops to fire another skill rotation. This is in the core of the hilt. It's just giving that survivability that your hero is going to be able to fire up one more time. Because why should have some very solid upgrades if they never achieve their purpose and fire up and do some damage? Another march barely leaves enough for reinforcements to arrive. One player keeps training positively over 10 minutes, where another explodes in the first engagement despite having strong heroes. That's not happening because one hero portrait is shinier than another. It's happening because dozens of small decisions have been stacking together for weeks, sometimes even months. Health, castle progression, research, gems, formation choices, a ring combination, civilization bonuses. Every single one of them is almost invisible when you first look at the battle reports, but together they're often doing far more work than the heroes themselves. And that's where I realized something that completely changed the way I read battle reports. Maybe the strongest hero isn't carrying to the account. Maybe the account has been carrying the hero all along. And I'm going to give you an example for me personally, something that, when I upgrade my account, I start noticing some very good, how to say it, results. And one of the places was actually against, it's going to sound funny, but it's going to be against the expedition. Now, in the expedition, you have this tribal chief that you can attack. Now, at first look, when I go and actually click on the bad boy, it's going to show me, where is this guy? is going to show me if I'm going to attack him with a single legion, and that I have huge disadvantage. Because what is compared hero is just the heroes I'm having and maybe the things that are like directly related to the hero, not uh not the full legion. And right now I'm just going to go over this legion and I'm going to strike him, even though that we saw I have huge disadvantage. But I start boosting the general researches, the general how to say it, um, boosters for the legions, and I start getting some good results at the end of the day. And as you can see, like my Lubu right now in huge disadvantage is fighting next to this guy who is, having like way more troops, and I'm going to basically win this fight, as you can see. Now, part is because of my Lubu, but the most important thing is with couple changes, I managed to do something that this type of event, I was attacking it with 4 legions. One of the legions, when he died, I immediately reinforce with the same legion when he come back to my castle just to kill this guy. And right now I can do it alone with a single legion, just because of this boost and increasing the health and other things general for my account, not focusing directly in this hero. The strange part is once you start looking at battles that way, you almost can unsee it. Because suddenly you're asking completely different question, not what hero won, but what actually happened that hero is difficult to kill. And I think this is where the next and I think this is where the next layer of meta begins. Maybe that's why so many players end up feeling disappointed after finally unlocking a hero they have been chasing. Nothing changed. And here is the thing, by the way. Here is the thing with the heroes. In my previous guides, I obviously said for free-to-play players, it's going to be a good idea to go with Lubu. Lubu is opened in Season 2, so in Season 1, you can just go and focus over a Tiwa because you're going to use a Tiwa with Lubu. So this is going to be your main hero, and in Season 2, get the Lubu. And I can show some results, but at the end of the day, if you don't have anything around this hero, what I have, even if you get the heroes I recommend, you're not going to get the same results from these heroes or from these legions, even if everything is looking the same from first look. The battle reports still don't look the way they expected. The traits still aren't amazing, and immediate reaction usually is maybe I need another hero. But I don't think that's the real problem. I think they solved the wrong problem first. Imagine 2 accounts unlocking the exact same legendary hero and the same day. Same star, same skills, same civilization. Most players would expect those marches to perform similarly, but they rarely do. One account suddenly starts dominating open field, the other one feels average. Why? Because the hero didn't join 2 identical accounts. It joined 2 completely different foundations. One account already have the health, the formation, the rig progression, the gems, the research, the castle development, everything underneath the hero was already prepared. The other account expect the hero to become the foundation. That's backwards. The foundation should already exist before the hero arrive. That's probably the biggest mindset shift I've had recently. Heroes don't create strong accounts. Strong accounts make heroes look incredible. And that's why you can even see some whales doing some fight on the battlefield. You're going to see some strange legion composition, and still this strange legion composition defeat your legion, or some strange heroes together, not even from the same military speciality. And by looking at that, you're like, oh my god, why this guy is using that? And at the same time, he's winning against you, and this start rising some questions in your head, maybe this is the way we should play, but in the same time, you don't understand that the foundation of this account is extremely solid. Whales have everything maxed. So even if they go with some, crazy hero composition, they're still going to do very well just because the foundation there is very solid. And the funny thing is, this completely changed how I watch it Wells now. I actually pay less attention to their heroes than I used to. Instead, I'm asking different questions. What ring they're using, how much unit health do they have, what gems are maxed, what formation is active, which march are they choosing not to fight. It's very important. That's another thing people rarely talk about. Good players don't just know how to fight, they know when not to. And battle reports never show the hundreds of decisions that happened before somebody pressed the attack. You don't see the resource management, you don't see the months of saving medals, you don't see the testing, you don't see the mistakes they already made in the previous seasons. All you see is the final trade. That's why copying wells is so dangerous at the end of the day. Once I start looking the game this way, something else changed. I stopped feeling like I had to chase everything. Whether a new hero gets an asset now, my first question isn't how strong they are, it's what problem they actually solving to my account. Sometimes the answer is none, and that's perfectly okay. Because keeping an upgrade can actually make your account stronger if it let you invest in something that's more important later. I honestly think that's one of the hardest lessons I learned in Age of Empire Mobile. Progress doesn't always come from saying yes. Sometimes it comes from knowing what to ignore. That's probably sounds strange in the game that consistently give us new heroes, new rings, new things to build, but every new release creates another decision, not another obligation. I've been starting enjoying the game a lot more since thinking that way. Instead of feeling behind everybody, I just ask whether this actually fits the direction I'm already building toward. If it doesn't, great. If it does, great. I save my resources and keep up. One of the reasons I enjoy making those videos is because the comment almost always make me rethink something I hadn't considered before. Even when we disagree, it usually leads to better discussion. So if you enjoyed this way of looking at the game, leaving a like or subscribing is just another way of helping those conversations reach more players. And when I think back to the beginning of this video, I don't actually believe stronger heroes are overrated. King Arthur is incredible. Lubo is incredible. The strongest heroes absolutely matter. But I think we're being giving them too much credit. Because when two great players fight, the hero usually isn't the only reason one of them walks away with the better traits. It's the hundreds of decisions that happened before the battle even started. The research they prioritize, the health they invest in, the rings they choose, the gems they upgrade, the formation they committed to, they don't replace them. The heroes simply review those decisions, they don't replace them. So the next time you open a battle report, try something different. Don't look at the heroes first, look underneath. Ask yourself what made this march so difficult to be killed. What investments are hidden behind those numbers? What decision happened weeks ago that you only see the results of today? Because I honestly think that's where the real metal lies. Not in the hero portraits, but in thinking. And I'm curious what you think. Have you ever watched a battle report where everybody else blame or praise a hero, but you felt something else was actually deciding the fight? I do generally like to hear your thoughts because the more battles I watch, the more convinced I become that we're only seeing the surface of what really wins in Age of Empire Mobile.